And this is the Marketplace with me, Charles Ayete. Our first story, Economist Professor William Barboatin is pushing for more aggressive cuts in government expenditure to address the sharp depreciation of the cedi. The local currency had depreciated by more than 7% for the first 2 months of this year, and there are fears that the situation could worsen if tougher measures are not implemented to improve the fiscal economy. Speaking on PM Express, the business edition, Professor Barboatin said that one of the surest ways to help restore investor confidence is to rationalize government expenditure.
I look at it from this way. I think it should start from the fiscal part of it. Maybe somebody will say, well, the central bank needs to intervene. But how long can the central bank intervene? Will the central bank intervene and just deplete our reserves? That is an option that we may not want to go there. So I think it should start from the fiscal side. So if you look at our current expenditure components, we have our compensation, which takes about 56%. And then we also have our, the debt service, which is quite high, and then earmark funds. Now, in that case, if you have about 144% of your tax revenue into these three areas, then how do you go about it? I think the first thing to be done is government trying to demonstrate that they are committed. They know that there are challenges, and therefore government is committed to bring down the expenditure on their side. I am expecting a statement like from the president or from Minister of Finance trying to tell all ministries, whether ministers or civil servants, not to buy any new vehicle for any office holder. When you do that, it means you are doing two things. One, you are trying to reduce your expenditure, and two, the importation of these vehicles will also send signals to the public that you are committed to doing this. Then there are other things that government will need to look at, very tough measures. Social intervention that the government rolled out since 2017 are very good. And I think it is high time government rethink about some of these social interventions and reserve some kind of money and reduce the pressure on the fiscal arm of economic management. And maybe it is difficult to mention free senior high. I think government need to review that and then maybe go the way that that used to be in terms of providing bursaries or support for the needy, while those who can afford will continue to pay. And in that case, government will be able to free out some resources for other areas.
Away from the city, energy analysts in the 10-year assessment report of Ghana's petrol production have called for a special audit of the country's annual budget funding drawn from the petroleum funds. According to the report, this will help to realign the use of the funds to improve its benefits to the citizens. Here's more. According to the Revenue Management Assessment by the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, the annual budget funding amount has lingering questions with regards to its impact on the general public. This follows several project stalls at some funded projects which have been reported as non-existent or sometimes executed below standards and specification. The audit could also focus on sectoral allocations in line with requirements of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, PRMA, and the Public Financial Management PFM Act. There is a strong imperative to provide the GRA and other institutions such as the Petroleum Commission and the Ministry of Finance with all the requisite human resources and tools to undertake their critical mandate of petroleum revenue management more effectively and efficiently. Meanwhile, the report found that the Bank of Ghana, the Auditor General, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, and the Petroleum Commission have demonstrated satisfactory progress in implementing the relevant provisions of the PRMA. On the other hand, the Ministry of Finance, Parliament, the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation have demonstrated meaningful progress in implementing the relevant provisions of the law. We're joined via Zoom by coordinator of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, Pierre Isaac, joining us there. Isaac, how relevant is this call for an audit of the APFA? Of the ABFA, actually, Isaac? If you could kindly unmute so we could hear you better.
Good afternoon. I couldn't hear you earlier. It's
I want to find out from you, many thanks for joining us. I want to find out from you how relevant the call is for there to be an audit of the ABFA.
All right, thank you. So the recommendation made based on the committee's assessment of petroleum revenue management and use over the period from 2011 to 2020 makes this recommendation, as you alluded to in your intro. You know that the PRMA provides that 70%, no more than 70% of the benchmark revenue is to be every year approved by Parliament. So it means that the ABFA is the mechanism by which petroleum revenue directly impacts Ghanaian life, directly impacts the economy. And the Act also provides that 70% of the allocation to the ABFA should be spent on public investment expenditure, should be guided by a medium-term expenditure framework aligned with a long-term national development plan. Now, over the period,
I'm afraid we seem to have the line tripping on us regarding this particular engagement. We'll try and raise the lines once again to bring him back on once to have his session on the annual budget funding amount. Calls for there to be some auditing with regards to this budget funding amount, despite 10 years of oil production in the country. We'll try and raise him up possibly if we can. But I think he's on phone now. We're grateful that he could reconnect. Just before the trip, I was trying to find out from you, calls for the auditing of the ABFA. How justified is it? Also, has the ABFA actually served its purpose?
Well, thank you. I am not very sure where you lost me, so let me start from the beginning. So I was just saying that the ABFA is a mechanism by which petroleum revenue directly impacts the economy. It is the way by which petroleum revenues are spent to affect the ordinary Ghanaian. And the PRMA provides that the spending of the ABFA shall be guided by a medium-term expenditure framework, which is aligned with a long-term national development plan. The PRMA also provides that 70% of the ABFA shall be spent on public investment expenditure. And the understanding is that the rest will then be spent on recurrent expenditure. Now, the understanding is that the part of the ABFA that is spent on public investment expenditure is to be spent on infrastructure. And in accordance with the PRMA, the ABFA is to be spent across the length and breadth of the country. So, pursuing its mandate, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee over the past 10 years has gone around the country inspecting projects. Some of them have received full ABFA funding. Others have received half ABFA funding. And I'm sure that some of the issues the committee has identified are before us or as citizens. The fact that the fund has been a bit too thinly spread over too many projects, which kind of watered down on the ability of the committee to conduct inspection of these projects. But particularly so, this call comes after 10 years, when in the initial stages, if you look at it, the ABFA was just spread over ministries. So if you go to look at the earlier allocations of the ABFA, you will see it allocated to ministries rather than to specific projects. And also when you look at the allocations to the project, it is difficult to tell that ABFA has funded monumental or grand national projects that we can easily point to, except for a few.
All right.
So having come 10 years on in the management and use of petroleum revenues, it is the view of the committee that it would be good for us to go back as a country to look at the projects that have been funded under the various priority areas selected and see the impact these projects have made on the economy in general. And there will be rich lessons in there to teach us and to inform the selection of priority areas going forward, and then the specific projects under each of the priorities.
It's been 10 years of oil exploration, Isaac, and it begs the question, has the ABFA actually impacted positively, socio-economically in the country?
Repeat the question. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Hello, Isaac?
Yes. Please repeat your question. I didn't clearly get.
Yeah, how much of an impact has the fund, been to socio-economic development, looking at 10 years of oil production?
Well, the report found that some impact has been made. US dollars of petroleum revenue. The returns on the investment, according to the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, has been quite significant, something in the region beyond $5 million. So then it means that eventually the investment will be able to pay for itself. If you look at the priority areas selected, agriculture modernization or agriculture which has received ABFA funding from 2011, the impact is difficult to measure it because if you look at, for example, 2014-15 thereabout, there was significant increase in the amount of ABFA allocated to the sector, but yet we were recording a negative growth in agri. And then also we had to import food as a country, even though so much was going into the agricultural sector.
All right.
Interactions with stakeholders have placed some compliment on the PSHS, which seems to have impacted quite a lot. But the challenge with it is that how sustainable it is still, looking at the volatile nature of petroleum revenue and the fact that we only have 3 producing fields now which are already hitting their peak. So the report altogether arrived at the conclusion that the impact of APFA over the period has not been significant. And it is the more reason for which the call is made that we should go back and look at the allocation and the implementation of the APFA and derive some good lessons that will inform the administration of the ABFA into the future.
All right, but based on what you said, Isaac, what does the future hold for the upstream petroleum sector?
What does the future hold for?
Is the future bright for the upstream petroleum sector, considering development happening not just in Ghana, but the rest of the world?
Well, the future it's before us. The energy transition has come, and it is something that we can take advantage of. We can build our national oil company very strongly and reposition it in such a way that when the national oil companies have left our country, our territory, our national oil company will be able to come in strongly and then take advantage of the endowments that we have as a country.
All right.
Then also there are rich lessons that we can learn from what we have done in the past 10 years. So I would
feel that you could join us, coordinator of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC. Well, the Tema region of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, is in its vigilance retrieved 6.2 million cedis of power theft in 2021. The region last year doubled its efforts in recovering every pesewa to help reduce commercial losses and improve revenue collection of the company. In an interview with Joy Business in Tema, the general manager of the Tema region, engineer Emmanuel Akini, says a number of customers were apprehended last year. Correspondent Kwame Yanka has more in this report.
Of the Electricity Company of Ghana has over the year descended on recalcitrant customers who are bent on using electricity illegally by recovering millions of cedis from them through a special arrangement. The region, with its various districts, has monitoring teams on the field, consistently uncovering such illegalities. Once these infractions are uncovered, the Revenue Protection Team takes these persons on. General Manager of the Tema region, Engineer Emmanuel Akini, tells Joy Business the company billed over 6.2 million cedis of power theft in 2021.
Yeah, last year we were able to apprehend a lot of customers who were involved in illegal connection activities, and an amount of about 6.2 million cedis was billed all those customers. Yeah, definitely they are supposed to pay the full amount, but some of them are paying by installments based on some agreements we've gone with them. So yes, we've been able to collect quite a huge chunk of it, and we expect the rest to finish paying before the end of June this year.
There are also instances where individual customers or companies involved are handed over to the police as part of the investigation for illegal connection in 2021.
But first of all, it is wrong to steal power. That is one thing. And then two, what we have also done is that anybody who reports somebody who has carried out any illegal connection get something out of the money that we'll recover from the illegality. So we are encouraging people to report those who are involved in illegal connection. Once we are able to detect that there's an illegality involved, you'll be entitled to some percentage of the amount that we bill.
With ECG introducing monthly campaign against power thefts last year to bolster existing measures, the region believes illegal activities of customers will not go unnoticed. Kwame Yankes reports for Joy Business.
You're watching Marketplace. I'm Charles Ida. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back with Tech Business. Do stay with us. Well, it's a Friday, and as we always do on Tech Business segment, we look at security and social media and payment systems today as we take a close look at user responsibility. Henry Kobler is our usual host, and he joins us for more. Henry, grateful as always that you could join us. How can you identify security threats on social media and payment systems, for starters? I'm afraid Henry's connection has frozen, but we'll try and connect to him, especially when he's going to be helping us appreciate the best ways by which we can use strategic tools to, as a matter of fact, cushion ourselves against cyber activities and, fraudsters. But even as we try and reconnect with Henry, technology has today become a strategic tool in growing economies and the population. To this end, many educational institutions have incorporated robotics and coding in training of their kids. One of such schools is the Dominion Christian Academy, of which we have more in this report.
Using technology to teach kids has become the tactic for some leading educational establishments in the country. This is because they want to groom graduates of tomorrow who are innovative and can build machines for socio-economic development. Here's director of the Dominion Christian Academy, who doubles as head of legal at Action Chapel International, Bishop Dr. Suzanne Inti.
At Dominion Christian Academy, we want to train children so that they are globally minded, they are internationally minded, they are aware of the environment, and they make a difference in terms of how they think and what they believe they can do. So inventions and technology is so key. With the fourth industrial revolution, we needed to make sure that our children understand the importance of technology and artificial intelligence, because that's the way the globe is moving.
Dr. Thomas Mensah, a member of the advisory board of the Fourth Industrial Revolution of South Africa, a Ghanaian-American chemical engineer and inventor who contributed to the development of fiber optics and nanotechnology, told Joy Business that the nation should groom critical thinkers to invent and facilitate the development of the economy.
Now, one of the most strategic things that Bishop Su did was invite me and put me on the advisory board of the Dominion Christian Academy. And so our goal is to bring practical things to this school.
Let's reconnect to Henry, because we lost him somewhere. And of course, he's going to be helping us understand how best we can protect ourselves from cyber threats. Henry, once again, help us understand how to identify security threats on social media and payment systems.
Okay, all right. The very first thing that I would say is that quite a lot of people are very, very vulnerable to social media attacks because they don't really take the practical steps to protect their account. Usually, you having an account on social media and just jumping on social media is not all you should do. My advice usually is that, when you get on social media, first thing you should be doing is to make sure that you're securing your account. And so two-factor authentications are very important. Link your phone's numbers to your account so that whenever anybody is trying to get into your account or your email systems, you can basically be able to protect yourself on there. It's very important for you to also fill out your KYC, which means that you should fill out your date of birth, you should fill out the security questions that are on. That's the very first step I usually tell people to do, because that's the only way you get to secure your account. It happens actually as well with bank accounts as well. When you're having your mobile applications from your bank accounts as well, it's important that you actually try and link up with the biometrics that are always added onto your account, and do not give out your PINs to people. One of the things I'm really going to call most of our telecommunication networks to do is really to have a bit of a fast approach to people that are scammed in terms of money. Over the period, I've had a lot of people text me telling me about hacks on there, and the usual point to really retrieve their monies is a bit longer process. And so it's a point where we should be looking at in terms of security, because that's the end product of all scams that really happen on social media networks. Identifying these networks means that you should also be looking out for fictional emails that are really not correct. They are having spelling mistakes and all, that are calling you to send your details to them. Your bank account details is supposed to be with you. Your login details in terms of logging onto online portals is your only prerogative into getting into those portals. I don't think that any representatives from any institution would relatively be asking you for direct information as your bank account or your social media. And so every PIN, especially, I think one of the scams that I've seen recently is that people are giving out the PINs that are sent to their email addresses or are sent to their phone numbers out to people that are perpetrating themselves to be family members or schoolmates, and trying to put themselves in a trust way. And I think that that's a point where people should realize that everything that comes onto your phone is supposed to be your responsibility for you to take care of. And so fill out your details, especially on social media, go to the certain areas, fill out some of those requirements that can be able to make you retrieve your account easily. And any PIN that is sent to your message is only for you and not for any other person.
Indeed, and we shall have more discussions on how best to secure yourself in our subsequent editions of Tech Business. Many thanks, Henry, for joining us. We're grateful for your time, and that's how we end this edition of The Marketplace. I'm Charles Aite. Many thanks for watching.